Invisible forces are driving your life, all of your relationships, all of your experiences. And your superpower is to be able to identify them so that you have a say in what happens next. Let me explain. 13.8 billion years ago, the universe expanded faster than the speed of light for a fraction of a second. We call this cosmic inflation. Then right after that, in endless space-time, there are all these subatomic particles just floating. Protons, neutrons, electrons, and some force draws all these subatomic particles together to create atoms. And then again, this miracle. In endless space-time, you have all these atoms just floating, and they're drawn together by some invisible force to create molecules, and then cells. And then 3.5 billion years ago, prokaryotes, eukaryotes. And then about 750 million years ago, sponges. And then about 350 million years ago, amphibians, and then reptiles, and then mammals. And then about 70 million years ago, primates. And then 2.5 million years ago, Homo habilis. And then finally, our ancestors at 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens. Now there's a story here about forces drawing us together to become more. Now I want to relate this story of invisible forces to the most important thing that you will ever do in your life, which is loving. And I did a 20-year study on love. And I explored in this study with some of the leading minds in the world in consciousness, like Ken Wilber, in psychology, like James Hollis, a director emeritus of the Jung Center, and people in sports, some of the greatest athletes in the world, and in philosophy, and in science. And in this study, in this 20-year study, we identified 5 stages of love: romantic, passionate, courageous, selfless, and transcendent. And I want to touch on each one of those briefly. So romantic love is a total projection. And a lot of our fairy tales are written about this. That you see someone, or you see a picture of them, and you have this whole idea of what they might be like, but it has nothing to do with them whatsoever. And this is romantic love. And the second stage of love is passionate love, or evolutionary love. And the Latin root of that, of course, is passio, which means to suffer. And we all know that. And indeed, a lot of our love songs are written about the second stage of love, passionate love. Now, the third stage of love is courageous. And courageous is where you say, okay, there is an individual who's totally different from me, and it's going to hurt. I might bump elbows with this person. But I'm courageous because I'm willing to endure this, that something in me might change here. Now, this brings us to a very interesting stage, which is the fourth stage of love, which is selfless. Now, for the first time, we recognize that there's this one individual in the relationship and an other, and there's this new form of intelligence that is an us, something that transcends and includes both the self and the other, but that we say, I'm going to let go of aspects of myself in order to be part of this greater vehicle, this us. So it is selfless love. Now here's where it gets fascinating. The fifth stage of love is transcendent love, what Martin Buber terms as the I-thou relationship, that we start to have an experience with God, with cosmos, with these invisible forces through the eyes of our lover. And the phenomenon that occurs in this stage of love is profound, because it primes us to experience that transcendent love with all beings we come into contact with, our friends, our colleagues, our pet, strangers. Now there's a pattern here from cosmic inflation to transcendent love, that there are forces that are inviting us to let go of parts of ourself in order to become more. Okay, so how do we see, feel, and experience these forces? Not in the brain through intellect, but in the wisdom of the mind. Not through pragmatism, but through intuition. Not up here, but deep within. Everybody taking a deep breath. I ask you now, who's beating your heart? Who grew your hands? On your best day, your worst day, you did this effortlessly. And you notice, even if on your hands, if you have a cut on your hand, you can see that where the wound is healing, the fingerprints start to realign. Right? The will of the flesh to grow without being told to. What Carl Jung would describe, inside every chaos there's a cosmos, and inside every cosmos a sacred order. Sacred, secret, invisible. Even psychology itself, the term, the study of the psyche or the soul, right? The soul in Greek, this invisible force that animates and drives physicality. So if you think even, where do your ideas come from? They don't come from us, but they come through us. That consciousness, indeed, precedes reality. As James Baldwin would write, the interior life is a real life, and the intangible dreams of people have a tangible effect on the world. For example, if you go to watch a dancer, a great performer, what is the objective of the dancer? Is it to arrive at one space on the floor? In fact, it's that you're looking for the dancer to surrender. When he or she gives himself to the music, the dancer disappears. And there you see yourself. There you see that cosmic inflation. There you see the surrender to something bigger moving through us. And in fact, when you go to the sports game, to watch a brilliant athlete, a basketball player, or a tennis player, almost fall and somehow create something spectacular in a play, that is the moment you're seeking, the surrender as a reference point for what's possible. And even that, when you go to kiss, what is it that you're doing? You're getting to know someone, but in fact, you're getting to know yourself again. You're letting go to discover something about you that is invisible. Now, this is super profound and key today because our ability to measure is so incredible. We can measure our electromagnetic field. We can measure our DNA, our hormones, our temperature, our heart rate, neurologically, everything that's happening. And it is that danger that also misguides us, that we reduce accidentally life to just physicality. What Whitehead calls the fallacy of misplaced concreteness, that our assumptions about the physical world mislead us terribly. When I was a boy, I met Joseph Campbell at a moonrise on a beach in Hawaii. And Joseph Campbell coined the term, follow your bliss. And what he's saying with that is not to do what you want, but to feel with your eyes closed, deep within, what you intuit you must do. In closing, I want to say that your superpower is to listen to your soul. From cosmic inflation to transcendent love, the mission is to get out of the way and let these invisible forces move you. What is it that the world is asking of you today? It's asking for your own self-actualization. Give your entire being to the relationships and the experiences, not that you want, but that invite you to become more. Give your entire being to the relationships and experiences that are inviting you to become more. That's why I'm here today. Thank you.